Hey there, this is Lee. Today's just a nice casual day. Nothing really unusual is going on. So, why don't I do something special and read the 8th chapter of my novel, Compulsion? Stephen frowned. Where is Janet? Walter nodded. I think I might know where she is. He walked up the stairs and noticed she was squatting, holding on to the rail with one hand and reaching out with the other. Stephen walked towards them. What's going on? Janet said, I was on my way down when I suddenly got a sense of a certain energy pulling me towards it. I realized what it was, the young man named John who left the party with his uncle. I was supposed to connect with him. I had a dream about him. We were in my place like how everyone is here now. We were touching hands and were not supposed to stop. Is he here? I must attach myself to him. Walter said, That's very interesting. Do you plan to glue yourself to him? I plan to hold his hand and never let him go. Stephen shrugged. Are you in any condition to come downstairs and be a part of the conversation? Janet asked, Is John here? Stephen was concerned his daughter was regressing back to her old habit of studying too much philosophy. When he was younger and still living at home with his parents, he was fond of the arts and humanities also. His father told him that he had to get his own place after high school or plan to live on the streets. Stephen realized that philosophy had been impractical. He studied books on finance and law. His friend, Alfred Krantz, was going to start his own law firm with money from his father. One day, Stephen asked him if it was a good way to make a living. Alfred said, Yes, everyone has legal troubles. Some people have misdemeanors and others have more problematic situations, but the law is strict and firm, and no one is scot-free from its wrath. Lawyers are like gatekeepers who can help clients get a free pass out of the hall of trouble. Sometimes it takes a very long time for that free pass to be acquired, and that very long time can mean a very large payment to the gatekeeper for his efforts. In a lawyer's world, the time from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock does not mean merely 2 hours. It means $200 in some cases. If you want to make money, law is the most attractive way to do so, in my opinion. Stephen nodded. Isn't law the opposite of free thinking? Alfred smiled mischievously. The world is very scientific in its functioning, but how we perceive it is philosophy. Law is really an empirical structuring of concepts, so lawyers are like philosophers who manipulate moral judgments. It is not a matter of right or wrong, but a matter of legal or illegal. That is why I like law. Is it illegal for me, a 17-year-old high school student, to drink alcohol? Yes. Is it wrong? No, it is not wrong. I get good grades, and I have never hurt anybody physically, and I have never teased anybody. When my parents ask me to do chores around the house, I do them. When I am finished with all my responsibilities, I drink a Bloody Mary concoction, vodka, tomato juice, a squeeze of lemon, celery salt, and a dash of clam juice. I listen to a Brahms concerto. Am I a fan of the law? Let's just say I want to be prepared if ever I need to quote it. Stephen asked, Do you consider yourself a philosopher at heart who uses the law for intellectual stimulation? I am a philosopher who uses the law as my bulletproof vest. Could I perhaps get in on the law firm when you start it? I would like having a partner. Baker and Krantz has a good ring to it. I have to go to law school to earn my degree. If you enroll in law school also, and if you get a degree, you and I can be partners. Stephen enrolled in law school and earned his degree approximately the same time Alfred earned his. They opened Baker and Krantz law firm in the Sheffield building, located in one of the nicest areas of town. Their firm was successful for a few years. Then Stephen and Alfred were less interested in law. Stephen gave his part of the firm to his daughter, Janet. Alfred kept his part, but suggested to Stephen they include a third partner. Luke Marvin was a friend of Janet's. He just finished law school and earned a degree. Stephen figured Luke would help entice Janet to feel the law firm was an appropriate place to earn a living. Luke's brother, Peter, worked at the local bank and sometimes gave Baker, Marvin, and Krantz clients. So far, everything was going fine, but now, if Janet was squatting on her stairs, reaching out for a man who was not in the house, the situation could be complicated. However, Stephen thought of a way to fix the dilemma. He said, "John is not here right now, but I know of a way to bring the two of you together." Janet stood up. "That would be great." Walter winked. "As a host of a popular game show might say, Janet Baker, come on down." She walked and asked, "Are you sure I will be seeing John? I don't want to be involved in this scheme unless it means I can have him." Stephen said, "As far as I'm concerned, if you want to weld yourself to him, I'll hold the torch. I need to be sure that I can spend the rest of my life with him." Stephen nodded. "I have a plan." They sat down again, Stephen and Walter back on the sofa and Janet on a recliner next to Luke. She asked, "How is everything going to come together? I need to know if your plan and my plan can connect. I have been studying the Himalayas and the philosophies of the people. I need this to mesh with my new spiritual understanding." Peter said, "Well, the Himalayas are tall mountains and the amount of money we'll be making will stack high. That's a similarity." Janet said, "According to my way of feeling that everything is connected, I will agree that's a start. Thank you, Peter." Peter laughed. "You know I was just making a joke." "Jokes are positive energy. Thank you for giving me some positive energy." Peter shrugged. "Seems like you took a dose of something." Stephen cleared his throat. "We all need to be on the same track with this. Janet, can you please explain to us what you learned through your studies of Himalayan philosophy?" Janet nodded. "In essence, I am tuning into yoga and holistic health. I think the Himalayas are beautiful, and so are the various people. When one is high up, a lot of the world's problems vanish. There is a certain mental enlightenment one gets when breathing fresh air and seeing wonderful trees. One's diet also helps with feelings of contentment. I ate some lemon pieces this morning and drank warm water. My nerves became stimulated naturally so I could wake up and feel refreshed. I chopped the garlic cloves so I could swallow them like pills, and I ate a salad and had some vegetarian vitamins. I made a few soft-boiled eggs with a piece of bread broken up in it and a few shakes of black pepper, and I drank a cup of ginger tea. My body feels refreshed. I looked out of my bedroom window and saw the trees on the sidewalk and the neighbors' lawns. The houses looked excellent. I felt philosophically in tune with my surroundings. When I'm at work, those feelings of contentment go away. I do what I can to integrate myself. I did not have an understanding of why I needed always to tuck in my shirts, but now I know it is for me to feel I have joined everything together. It goes with my sense of psychological harmony. If I am in a place where I do not feel good, I can at least say I am comfortable with the completeness of my body image, and I feel better about myself." Harold shrugged. "You should meet my nephew John. He's really into women who dress like you do." Janet nodded. "That's my next point. The purpose of our world is to connect with others who are in tune with one another. If John likes me, he will complement me when we are together. He is the environment I need to feel complete harmonically. He has to be my power supply, otherwise I'll have no more purpose." Stephen was optimistic about the plan moving in the right direction. If he set things accordingly to what ought to be the final result, everyone would be happy. He said, "I have an idea. Harold, do you go to the doctors on a regular basis?" Harold shrugged. I don't have any choice. Ever since I started listening to Walter and getting fat and eating unhealthy foods, I'm afraid I'll have a heart attack. When is your next appointment? My doctor said I should wait a few months before seeing him again. I don't know why. I think he feels I'm in better health than what I believe to be true. Does your family know this? I haven't told them yet. They usually don't care about hearing of doctors. They prefer I tell them about my appointments a few hours before we have to leave the house to get to the hospital on time. I'd like you to make them believe you have an appointment within the next few days and that it is urgent. I also want you to pretend you really don't want to go. You will have Rose, your sister, want to bribe you into going. When I talked with her about you, she sounded concerned about your diet, but also about you keeping your appointments. Is your hospital close to a restaurant? The Elegant Nibble is about a 5-minute walk away. Stephen smiled. I like that. Janet works across the street. Harold, make sure John is there. Janet, if you want to see John, your best bet will be for you to go into the Elegant Nibble and approach him. Janet said, I want to do more than that. I'll want to grab him. Stephen said, the best way to do that is to offer to shake his hand. What if he doesn't want to shake my hand? I'm sure he will, but if he decides not to do so, you can then grab it. Okay, I can go with that. I'll give him a handshake that will never end. Stephen nodded. Harold, you might as well do something in the restaurant to make it appear you are offended and have to leave. You'll go to Janet's work and let her know if John is there. Harold said, That's fine. I'll make sure I ate a good meal before I go so I won't get too hungry. Perfect. Now, Oliver, let's make it so that if Janet needs an excuse to be at the restaurant, the excuse can be that she is there to meet you. Oliver said, I've always wanted to eat there. How about you give me $100 so I can order something fancy? That will inspire me to be a good actor. Stephen took out a stack of bills and handed them to Oliver. Done. Oliver winked. Thank you. Stephen said, Luke, you can play the heartless creep in case Janet has to come back to the office. Peter said, I would prefer to be the creep. Luke laughed. You are the creep, but I can do a decent enough job. Janet said, Okay, this all sounds rather twisted. Harold sighed. Do you know what's twisted? I have to sneak salt and pepper packets in my own home so I can eat food that doesn't taste like nothing. My sister Rose wants her son John to get married to one of the obese women who work at the discount store. She drives Thelma up the wall, to the point where Thelma has had it with people altogether. I know Thelma when she was a patient at the mental institution, and she was a lot more together than my sister. Walter asked, Why was she in the institution? She was falling in love with her neighbor who was a woman. Thelma thought there was something wrong with her mind. She was thin, but she ate a lot of food with the strict purpose of being fat so she could have another problem to deal with, other than the lesbian tendencies. She didn't know she was lesbian. She thought she was straight and somehow wrongly obsessing towards a woman she did not like. She committed herself, thinking she would get over her feelings if she talked to a psychiatrist and took medication for her state of mind. When the doctor told her she was a lesbian and her feelings were perfectly normal, she felt resolved. She was able to admit it to herself, so I admitted I was a gay man. We fell in love with each other, not sexually, but because of a lot of things we had in common, like our ideas about life. I didn't care if she was heavy-set. I mean, if I had been straight, I might have had an opinion about it, but I loved her for who she was and vice versa. When we consummated the marriage, we did not really enjoy the experience, but we were able to get through it. That was the only time, and Christine was the result. We were both happy we had a child. It made everything seem like it was with purpose. Janet nodded. From what you told us, Harold, I feel like John needs me. If his mother is his repression, I will be his emancipation. I can have food brought over from a restaurant specializing in different cuisines that are a part of Himalayan culture. Walter asked, "What do you mean by Himalayan culture? Isn't there more than one culture?" The Himalayas are a mountain range comprising Mount Everest, Kanchenjunga, Chokhuri, Nanga Parbat, Makalu, and Lhotse. The countries included are Bhutan, China, India, Myanmar, Nepal, and Pakistan. A restaurant could call itself a Himalayan restaurant if it has one or more of the cuisines of those countries. It's not as simple as me saying, I believe in the culture of the Himalayas. I have to say I believe in the diverse cultures of the different countries involved. However, I find their cultures to be much more attractive than anything American, with the exception of rural farm people. I do like the idea of being a farmer and growing my own food. Walter frowned. How exactly does the Himalayan culture idea tie in with holding on to a man's hand and never letting go? It has to tie in with yoga, which has to do with harmony, and it has to do with holistic health that ties in with wellness. Plus, those different countries share the Himalayas. John and I share a certain energy which will have its own name when we are joined. Luke said, sort of like you are two mountains that become one. Even if he panics and tries to escape, you'll be joined together by the sheer physical aspect of bonding. Janet frowned. I don't like what you said about John panicking. Peter shrugged. It doesn't matter whether or not you like it. The point is you don't know how he will react. Stephen said, at this point I don't care how he reacts. If he is the center of what will allow Janet to be in on this plan with us, he will be involved. Okay, he might find himself trapped forever with a woman of his dreams, while I will be trapped with a lot of money that can assure my early retirement from needing to work. I can then also pay back Alfred Krantz, who loaned me money back when I was in college, so I could eat and not waste time in a job having to do with manual labor. He said it was a gift, but I want to do a good deed for him. He's been my friend since high school, and he told me a lot about how to be practical in the world. I want to give him the type of gift he gave me. Harold said, if you give Alfred Krantz a big chunk of money, though, that'll affect how much I get. Stephen sighed. You'll get back what you invested plus a lot more. I may not think of you as a close friend like I do most everyone else here, but I am a conscientious man when it comes to business. I may involve myself with cheating someone, but I will be fair to who helps me cheat. Harold nodded. Okay then. I'm just concerned about when Rose decides to order a lot of bland food at the restaurant. Stephen shook his head. I thought you said you would eat ahead of time. I'm not sure what I plan to do yet. Walter said, I suggest you do both. The Elegant Nibble is one of the best restaurants I've eaten in. I especially just buy food at the discount store, so I don't know the reputations of all the restaurants in town, but I did enjoy my meals there. Janet asked, before I decide not to help you all and merely look for John on my own, why don't you tell me now specifically what you are doing? I'd like to know what this big money plan is. Stephen nodded and clued her in on everything.